What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. Well, tonight we get a little story time. Now, this is something we haven't done in a while, and people on my Instagram all the time ask for story times, and I'm like, I don't just like randomly make these stories up. Like when the thought comes to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this time, and I'm like remembering like what happened, saying, oh, I remember this time, this whatever. That's when I make the videos, and I was just I just found out that I was actually in the clip of the Top Rope Promotions. Which is, it used to be Yankee Pro Wrestling, which is where I wrestled professionally, and it's now Top Rope Promotions, which it's moved hands, new ownership. Steve Ricard now owns it. Joe Eugenio is no longer involved in it, apparently, I guess. And I was there from about 1998, 99, 2000, 2001. So 4 years I was with Yankee Pro Wrestling. South Coastal Championship Wrestling was also owned by Joe Eugenio. So it was like two federations owned and run by the same guy, so we could work both those federations. Also, we had kind of inter-federation matches with Killer Kowalski. Walter Kowalski, when he was alive, I went to do some shows with him. Yankee Pro, a bunch of our guys went up there to work shows and stuff with him too. So, you guys know pro wrestling in general if you watch it. The storylines that take place, the things that have gone on through the last couple of decades. We've had the Attitude Era, we've had WCW, we've had WCW bought out, it's been a great ride for pro wrestling since I started watching as a kid, to watch it evolve and develop. And I'm watching this video of myself and these other individuals, and I'm reminiscing. I'm like, oh, I remember this, I remember that, I remember this. And I actually remember my last match and my last spot, I guess you would call it, because it wasn't a match. My final match was against, and I didn't know it was my final match. Like, it's not like I got injured and was fully out. I had a tear in my my shoulder, where the bicep tendon inserts in this shoulder. I tore it wrestling. It was in a suplex. The guy had me up, and I was about 250 pounds. I wasn't a light guy. I jumped. I got the move up. He didn't really brace me too good at the top, but he finally got me stable, and he held me up there for a little bit to show like how strong he was. And when we came down, I was shifted a little wrong, and I landed a certain way. He kind of dropped me a certain way, which screwed up that tendon in my shoulder. It tore it slightly, and it caused a bunch of inflammation, calcification. It was just a giant pain in the ass. But that's something you can get through, right? But at the time, it wasn't heroin, but it was painkillers. At the time, I was loaded on painkillers, and Oxycontin and Nubane were the two things that I was very, very big into and addicted to. And I look back now and I'm like, the match was the shits. Like, it wasn't a good match. It was against Mike Foster, the Thunder from Down Under. What do they used to call him? He was from Australia. Mike Foster. He used to come out like with the Australian flag tied around his neck. And we wrestled so many matches against each other. Like, we had different matches in different states. We had ongoing storylines. Mike and I together. He was around a lot longer than I was. He was more of a veteran than I was. I was a lot greener. I was totally green when I first came in there. He'd already been there for a while. And, he called a spot at the end of the match. And what he wanted me to do is put him in the powerbomb position. And when I pick him up and he gets on my shoulders, when he's sitting up here, I have him here. Pick him up like we're going to do the last ride for The Undertaker to powerbomb. When I pick him up, he's going to roll. And then when he gets down, he's going to sunset flip me. And that's going to be the end of the match. He's going to get a roll-up pin that was not expected. Everybody's seeing me going to drop him on his head. And he flips over and winds up pinning me, and I was the face, he was the heel. And the end of the match comes. We've worked the whole thing, and it's okay. It's not a spectacular match. And Mike was like, he wasn't a big guy, but he was heavy. Like, he was bottom heavy. He had like big legs, big ass, and he was kind of short, but he was a little off balance, like center-wise. Like, it was kind of hard, to get him up off my shoulders. And he had these like cargo pants he would wear. It was like military pants. And he had like a singlet top that he would wear. So I was supposed to grab the belt and pull like this. Well, when I grabbed the belt, it moved. Like, it kind of pulled up, so I couldn't get full force when I used my knees to pick him up. And it was one of those things where when I went to pick him up for the power bomb, I grabbed him. As I pulled him up like this, the belts moved. And as they moved, I couldn't get him fully rotated. He didn't sit up. He stayed back. So I couldn't power him up, and he didn't sit up. So what happens? I went to pick him up. He didn't come all the way in the move. He went back. I was like, fuck. I was like, oh shit. I'm like, at the end of the match, in the middle of this fucking finish, and I can't get him up over my head. Like, he's not fucking cooperating. His gimmick on his clothes is not working right. So I fucking grab him again, and I go to pick him up again, and he fucking same thing happens. He rolls back and lands back down again. So here I am standing with him between his head between my legs, like you're gonna give him a power bomb. And the only thing I could think of was, fuck, he can just backdrop me right now. So that's exactly what he did. What he did was like he was in, I said backdrop. I put my head down, I grabbed him, I said backdrop. And when I said backdrop, what he did was just stand up and I went over him. Then I was on my back and he just grabbed my legs and got the pin that way. So it went over and it looked like it was supposed to be done that way. It was totally not supposed to be done that way. But it was the what we call the fuck finish. And I'm laying on my back, realize I just messed it up. And, they're not going to get mad at me in the back because we still fixed it and it went over and, it was what it was. But the whole idea was it was supposed to be more of a, like that there would make me as a wrestler look weaker, right? So there's parts that go to this. Ring psychology is a very important thing with wrestling, and it teaches you how to act as a heel or act as a face, how to look strong or look weak. And there's different things you do for specific reasons at certain points in the matches, in different matches for different things with different competitors. Like it just depends on the storyline of what the story they're trying to create or we're trying to create. So I'm laying on my back and I fucking hit the mat and I said, I got to do something. Like it makes me look weak, and my next match I'm going to look weak. Like we can't do this because I'm the muscle guy and he's the not muscle guy. I couldn't get him over my head. The finish looked a little shoddy even though it went over. So I stood up, and this is not how this was supposed to go. He was playing to the crowd like, yeah, and they're all booing and stuff. And I kind of creep over to him and I wait and I grab him by the shoulder, spin around, I kick him in the gut, right? Which was, none of this was planned. He had no idea this was coming. And of course, like you just react, right? I didn't kick him hard. Like I kicked him like we're supposed to kick him. He went down. I put him in the powerbomb. I said, fuck this. I used my legs and everything. I powered that motherfucker up and I sit out powerbomb and boom, in the middle of the fucking ring, hard, right after the bell, and fucking he had won the match. Stood up and did one of those fucking Stone Cold things where you fucking yell at the guy and put my hands up in the air, and then fucking my music played and the fucking crowd went crazy. So it was like one of these things where it was a kind of an add-on at the end of the match. I thought it would fit. It would make me look stronger, but I didn't realize it would make him look weaker, right? Because I was just like, I need to get back over. I'm the face, right? We can't have a finish that was that straightforward without like some kind of big ending that puts either him or me over. Like neither one of us were really over at that point. So of course that put me over, and I was like, fuck yeah. So I go in the back, and he comes in the back. He's like, what the fuck was that? And I said, here's the deal, man. I said, we fucking botched that thing. I said, I'm supposed to look strong even though you go over. It was supposed to be kind of like a sneaky finish that we did. I said, it didn't go over that way. So I said, I need to maintain the strength. He said, okay, yeah, I get it. Cool. I said, were you okay? Yeah, no problem. The powerbomb was good. When I do a sit-out powerbomb, I don't know about anybody else. When I do a sit-out powerbomb, when my legs come out, his shoulders are in between my legs, but his arms are on my legs. So my actual ass and legs take a lot of that impact. That reduces the impact on him. So it looks brutal to the guy, but I'm the one taking the impact, and my spine is compressing every time, and my hips hitting that mat with his weight on top of me. So basically, I took the beating of that move. So, we talked to Joe Eugenio, and there's another guy named Joe that worked there too. I can't remember his fucking last name. Anyways, they were like, what the fuck was that all about? What happened to what happened to that fucking finish? I told him, I said, he wouldn't go up. They said, well, it went over anyways. And then the kick with the powerbomb, it's all good. Like, it all went over. Like, there was a lot more leeway in the independents than there was in there is in WWE or WCW. Like, you have to stick to the scripts in WCW and stuff and do the things that they want you to do. There was a little more ad-libbing that, like you didn't want to do something to break your character. Like if I was a bad guy, I'm not going to do something like go out there and smile and do the peace sign and fucking slap. You're going to work your character, right? Your gimmick. So that was my final full match. And I had no idea it would be my final full match, but the drug addiction was just getting worse and worse and worse. And I kind of was like, I don't know how to do this anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to focus when I'm in the ring all fucked up. Like, I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want to hurt myself. Like, I need to figure out, like, how to get this shit under control, which actually never happened, right? Because I got addicted to heroin. So a couple weeks later, we had another match. It was back there at the Police Athletic League. And I called Yankee Pro, and I was pretty fucked up on drugs. And I said, I can't wrestle. I'm injured. And they were like, okay, like, well, what's your injury? And I said, my shoulder's bothering me. I said, but I would really like to do something else. I said, I just can't work. I can't wrestle. Now, the truth is, I could have wrestled, but I was just worried about hurting someone or myself. And this was the last time I actually ever got in a ring in my entire life. Well, for a match. I got in a ring in 2015 just to get in and see how I felt, but I haven't wrestled in front of a crowd since that last match. So he said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to sit you in the crowd. And when Foster comes out, He's gonna say stuff to you sitting in the crowd, like, "Oh, you're hurt. Probably I did it to you because you're such a loser and you're so all the muscles and you're so weak." Like he's gonna bark for me, on the stick, on the microphone, in the ring. And then what happens is during his match, when he's over on the guy, you're gonna jump the railing, right? Because the ref's gonna get hit and knocked out. You're gonna jump the railing when the ref's knocked out, beat the shit out of Mike. Fucking, he's gonna go down. You're gonna grab the other guy, put him on top of him. You're gonna grab the ref, wake him up, and fucking Mike's gonna get beat like that. So that way, it sets it up for the future matches that you're messing with his matches. So I said, okay, and that's cool. So you're going after the heel, and when a face goes after a heel like that, it shows that you're fighting back. You're not taking it laying down. So even though it's a shitty move, it's still not a heel move. Again, ring psychology, right? So I'm sitting in the crowd, and people realize, like, what the fuck? Lucian Bagwell's sitting next to me. What the fuck is he doing in the crowd? Because they saved the chairs, and when I got there, I just walked in with my girlfriend at the time, well, actually my wife, and we sit in the chairs, and we're like talking to people and shit, and they're like, what the fuck? Like, why aren't you wrestling? I said, I'm injured, and I had wrapped my hand with an ace bandage, right? So it looked like I had hurt my hand. So I'm fucking sitting there, and I said, I'm injured, I hurt my hand, and da-da-da-da. They're like, oh, wow, it's crazy, and I'm taking pictures and signing autographs and shit. And then the matches start, right? And they're asking me, like, oh, what do you think of this guy? What do you think of that? Like, they're excited that I'm sitting in the crowd with them, and they're asking me questions about the matches and the questions about the wrestlers and shit. And then Mike Foster's match comes up. And Foster comes out to the ring, and he does his whole spiel, da-da-da-da, and he grabs the microphone, and, he says, you know what, YPW, and he goes on his little spiel, and then he goes, and that guy right there, he can't beat me on his best day. Look at him, look at his hurt hand. That's from me. I hurt his hand. Like, he was really, like, working the mic, and I'm like, man, this is really good. It's getting a lot of heat right now. People are like, boo, like, freaking out. I was like, they're going to lose their shit when I jump in that ring. So the whole match is going on, and meanwhile, I'm high as fuck. Like, I'm so fucking high that, like, I know what's going on. I was, like, on automatic pilot. And, his match comes, and they're going through the match, and then the finish comes. So they're fighting, they're doing whatever they're doing, and then the fucking spot comes where they knock the fucking ref out. Boom, the ref's unconscious on the ground. I go, here we go. So Mike's got the guy on the ground, and he's like fucking, he's got him pinned, and the ref's knocked out, and he looks over, and he's like, the ref's knocked out. Like, so then he stands up, and he's like, goes over towards the ref. That was my cue. So I stand up, and everybody goes like this, like, what the hell? And I jump the railing, and they're like, holy shit. They're like freaking out. So I jump in the ring, I slide in behind him, turn around, kick him, right? Fucking, he goes down, I come off, give him like a neck breaker. And there I'm putting the boots to him in the middle of the ring, slam him, put the boots to him more, choking him with my foot, like doing all this heel shit to him because I'm the face who he was just talking to. I'm not going to take his shit, so I'm going to look strong, right? So basically, he's all fucked up. I grab the other guy, I roll him over onto him for the pin, wake the referee up, 1, 2, 3. The other guy gets the win. I fucking step out of the ring, I jump the railing, I sit back on my seat like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I have no idea. And the ref's like, he's like, oh, and he looks around and like, well, I don't know. So Mike comes to, and he's like, I didn't lose the match. Like, he beat me up. And the ref was like, he's over there. Like, he's not in the ring. Like, what are you talking about? That's it. The match is over. Like, and it went over really good. And I had no idea that would be the last time I ever do anything in wrestling. I wish I knew so that I could have actually really absorbed everything, that soaked it all in. You know what I mean? Really, really, really just enjoyed that last time, because it's something that if you've ever done it, you either love it or hate it, and you can't keep doing it if you don't love it. It's not one of those things where you just do it for the fuck of it, or you want to do it to impress your friends or a girl. No, you have to love this shit because it hurts, it's painful, and it's a lot of hard work. I mean, it's super hard work. So I put all that work and energy into being the best that I could, and I my own fault was addicted to drugs. That was 100% my fault. My pro wrestling career, and I could say career because I got paid to do it, I was one of the lucky guys that was being paid for every match. And I had 3 matches a week. We had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And sometimes we just had Friday and Saturday. We had Sunday off. But we traveled 3 days a week, which was a hard schedule. I still went to the gym 3 days during the week for practice, too. So it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I was still in the gym, the wrestling gym, still training 5 days a week with weights, sticking to my diet, traveling on the weekends. And I was like 23 years old, 22, 23 years old. I was a young guy doing that. And I look back at it, and I was like, the times that I had with the boys on the road and stuff like that, like traveling and stuff, like, you can't, like, that's bonds that will never fucking break. Like Andy Jacks, Mark Dagnall, Tim Towers, King Kong Bundy, Chris Tatanka, the Native American Tatanka, Jose Perez, Mike Brickhouse Baker, Mike Foster, Mike, there was Hercules Kevin Kelly. We had, there's so many guys, Reverend Redemption, Big Kahuna, Colossus, I could go on and on about these guys. Iron Fist was one of our tag team partners, and Pretty Boy, Pretty Boy Hernandez was another guy that we worked a lot with and stuff. And I go, Onyx. I could go on and on. I could just ramble off names all night, but the things that we did in the ring, the things that we did in practice, the bonds we created, the camaraderie from getting in the ring and protecting each other from not killing each other every move that we do, trusting the other person. You had to have a trusting relationship with the other person, Too Sweet Scott Ashworth. The names just keep popping in my head. That trust, that bond is very different than anything I've ever had with anybody in my life, because you're trusting that person with your life every single time you step through the ropes to not kill you or not injure you to the point where you're going to be fucked up for the rest of your life. And that bond is what's going to keep us close forever. I mean, I still talk to Andy Jax. He's pretty much the only one I really talk to from the wrestling thing anymore. But Andy was my boy. Like, we used to go out and party afterwards. Like, I remember going to a Club Pulse in Rhode Island. Like, we had a match, and we were excited to get done with the match so we could actually go to the club. And, like, we were taking ecstasy. We're all fucked up. Like, he disappeared in the club. I was with my wife. And then, like, all of a sudden we find Andy with some girl. He's sitting there with a fucking, like, a rose in his teeth. Like fucking in his, he's, like, all fucked up on drugs. And I'm like, where the fuck you been? He's like, I met this girl. She's really cool. He's all fucked up. His eyes are all spinning in different directions. But, like, we would go different places and party and fucking, he was like my wingman, like, not picking up chicks because I had a girl, but he was my wingman. Andy Jax was my fucking dude. And, I miss those guys tremendously. And, I'll be honest with you, I miss Andy, Mark, and Tim the most. Tim Towers, Mark Flex Chambers, a.k.a. Mark Dagnall, and Andy Jax, Andy Santos. I miss those guys the most. I wish, I can get in touch with Andy, but we don't know how to get in touch with Mark and Tim, because I would, in a heartbeat, wherever they're at, try to get all of us together and just go hang out and just be together for a little while. Just chill out and go over old times and shit like that. Not party, because we're all old as fuck now, and some of them have kids and shit, and we're all married and fucked up, but, 4 old farts sitting at a table somewhere talking about the different things we did when we were wrestling would be pretty fucking awesome. But yeah, that was my story time for tonight, guys. That was something that just popped in my head because I just got an alert on Facebook that let me know I was in the clip of the Top Rope Promotions anniversary video. And I was like, well, that's interesting. I haven't done this in like 20-something years. I'm in the clip. That's awesome. And it's like you still get respect for things that you did back then, because at that time, there wasn't a lot of guys in that area that were in shape. We had me and Mark. Andy was in pretty good shape. We had Iron Fist, who was big, but he wasn't really lean. Kevin Kelly was in fairly good shape. The Power Company they were just big. They weren't really in good shape, but like the crowd really wanted people that were in shape, that were like superheroes, like the bodybuilding type look. And I looked a lot like Buff Bagwell, so that kind of put me over. So right off the bat, I was kind of being thrust into the spotlight right away, and winning titles and stuff probably before I should have, just because of the look that I had. And to say that 20-something years ago I walked away from the squared circle, to have people still appreciate what I did back then and still talk about me, which is pretty cool. That's awesome. Like, money can't buy that shit, guys. Like, everybody talks about money and stuff, but money can't fucking buy that. $50 a night, you're getting slammed on your head over and over again. You have fucking injuries, you have concussions, you're all fucked up, and you're like, whoa, I can't wait to do it again. Like, how many things in your life are you ever going to do like that, right? BossYouTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BossYouTraining.com is a blog. It's the fucking pro wrestling. I miss it so much, Bicep, and we are out.